I died on a Tuesday in July, choking on my own blood as the pills dissolved in my stomach. The bitter taste of betrayal flooding my veins like acid rain over Times Square. My husband, Ethan, stood over me in our Park Avenue penthouse, his face a mask of feigned shock while my sister, Lila, whispered in his ear, her hand steady on the phone dialing 911 too late. But death wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, slamming me back into my body a year earlier, heart pounding like a jackhammer at a construction site in Brooklyn, the exact morning I'd signed the merger papers that sealed my fate. The first breath I took in that recycled air-conditioned boardroom felt like resurrection, raw, gasping, alive. I was Ava Harrington, 34, CEO of Harrington Biotech, the golden girl of Silicon Alley who'd clawed her way up from a Jersey trailer park to a corner office with a view of the Hudson. But in my old life, that merger with Apex Pharma hadn't been a win. It was a trap. Ethan, my charming Wall Street shark of a husband, and Lila, my baby sister who'd always idolized me until she didn't, had cooked up a scheme to frame me for embezzling millions. They'd planted the digital breadcrumbs, fake transfers, doctored emails, turning me into the villain of my own empire. The board ousted me. The feds raided our home. And under the relentless glare of the media hounds, I swallowed those pills not to escape, but because the shame of their lies burned hotter than any fire sale on Fifth Avenue. Now, here I was again, shaking hands with Dr. Marcus Hale, Apex's silver-tongued CEO, his grip slimy as a subway pole at rush hour. To new beginnings. Ava, he said, his smile all teeth. No soul. I forced a grin, my mind racing like a yellow cab weaving through traffic. This time, I wouldn't play the mark. This time, I'd drive the knife and twist it slow. The elevator ride down from the 52nd floor was a blur of polished chrome and my reflection staring back like a ghost in a funhouse mirror. My hands trembled as I gripped my Louis Vuitton briefcase, the one Ethan had gifted me for our 5th anniversary. Ironic, now that I knew it was bought with blood money from his side hustles. I needed a plan. Fast. Coffee first. Black. No sugar. At the corner Starbucks, where the baristas knew my order by heart. As I stepped out onto the bustling sidewalk of Midtown Manhattan, horns blaring and pedestrians shoving like it was Black Friday at Macy's, the weight of it all crashed down. I trusted them. Ethan, with his easy laugh and late-night whispers about building a legacy together. Lila, fresh out of Yale Business School, eyes wide with that mix of envy and adoration, begging for a seat at the table. And I'd given it to them, handed over the keys to the kingdom because blood was thicker than ink on a contract. By the time I claimed my Venny Pike at the counter, the hook was set deep. I wouldn't just expose them. I'd dismantle their world brick by brick. Make them feel the isolation I'd known in those final hours. Alone with the truth no one believed. But revenge isn't a straight shot down the FDR Drive. It's riddled with detours. Moral speed bumps that could wreck you if you hit them wrong. First stop, my apartment. Not the penthouse yet. That was still Ethan's bachelor pad in my past life, but my no-frills one-bedroom in Chelsea, where I'd crash after board meetings to pretend I had a life beyond spreadsheets and schmoozing. The door clicked shut behind me, and I bolted it like Fort Knox. My laptop hummed to life on the kitchen island, a slab of faux marble that cost less than one of Ethan's power lunches. I pulled up the merger docs, eyes scanning for the anomalies I'd missed before, the subtle code in the Apex integration software that siphoned funds to offshore accounts. There it was, buried in line 478, A backdoor labeled Legacy Fund _V2. EXE.
Cute.
Ethan's handiwork. No doubt. He was the tech whisperer in our marriage. The one who optimized my systems while I chased FDA approvals. A knock rattled the door. 3 sharp raps. Like a cop serving papers. My pulse spiked.
It was too soon for them to suspect anything.
Peering through the peephole, I saw Lila's glossy bob and that designer trench coat she'd borrowed from my closet last Christmas.
Shit.
In the old timeline, this was the day she dropped by with takeout from Nobu. All sisterly vibes. Planting the first seed of doubt about Apex's shady dealings to steer me toward the merger. I cracked the door. Chain still latched. Lila, what's up? Thought you were in meetings all day. Her face lit up. All porcelain skin and practiced innocence.
Ava.
God.
You look stressed.
Merger jitters? I brought sushi, your favorite. The spicy tuna rolls. She held up the paper bag like a peace offering. Steam curling from the edges. My stomach twisted in my last life. Those rolls had been our ritual. A way to unwind after the corporate grind.
Now.
They smelled like cyanide. I unlatched the chain, stepping aside with a tight smile. You're a lifesaver. Come in. As she breezed past, shedding her coat on the armchair. I watched her like a hawk eyeing roadkill. 28. Ambitious as hell. With a Rolodex of Ivy League connections that made her the perfect pawn, or queen, depending on the game. She'd always been the pretty one. The one Dad doted on before the cancer took him, leaving me to foot the bills for her tuition. Gratitude?
Nah.
Resentment festered like mold in a Hell's Kitchen basement. We ate cross-legged on the rug, chopsticks clacking. Small talk about the merger flowing like cheap Merlot. Hail's a shark. Ava, she said, popping a piece of salmon nigiri. But you're the Jaws. You'll eat him alive. Her laugh tinkled like wind chimes in a hurricane forced. Probing. I nodded, chewing slow, mind elsewhere. The USB drive in my pocket burned a hole. I'd copied the backdoor code on the sly during the boardroom handshake. Step 1. Verify it wasn't a glitch. That night, after Lila left with air kisses and promises of girls' night, I fired up a VPN, thank God for the paranoia Ethan had drilled into me, and dove into the dark web forums where coders spilled secrets for crypto tips. Legacy Fund _V2. I typed into an encrypted chat. Minutes later, a handle called Ghostbite pinged back. Old Apex Trojan. Siphons to Cayman shells. Who's asking? My fingers flew. Hypothetical. Repercussions? The reply was a gut punch. Feds love it for Rico. But if you're the patsy, career suicide. Or worse. Worse. Like a noose tightening in a midtown jail cell. I slammed the laptop shut, heart hammering. Ethan would be home soon from his client dinner, code for schmoozing with Hale's cronies at Del Frisco's. Our brownstone in the village waited. All exposed brick and overpriced art. The stage for our perfect life. But tonight, I'd rewrite the script. He strolled in at 10:47 p.m., tie loosened, scotch on his breath. That boyish grin melting the room's chill. Hey, gorgeous. Merger go off without a hitch. He leaned in for a kiss, lips brushing my temple, and for a split second, I almost forgot the way he'd held me after Dad's funeral, whispering we'd conquer the world together. But memory is a bitch. I saw the flash of calculation in his eyes. The same one for my deathbed. Smooth as silk, I murmured, pulling him close. my hand sliding into his jacket pocket for his phone. While he poured another drink, I thumbed through his messages, burner app, deleted threads. But one lingered, apex locked. Phase 2. Frame the Queen.
Elle.
Lila. My throat closed like a vice. I slipped the phone back,
Forcing a yawn. Exhausted.
bed, in the dark, tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets. His snores rumbled like thunder over the East River. I lay awake, plotting. Revenge wasn't about bullets or bombs. That was movie bullshit. It was surgical, American-style lawsuits, leaks, the slow bleed of reputation until they begged for mercy. But mercy? That was for suckers. First, I'd need allies. Not friends, those were liabilities. Professionals. A PI from the Yellow Pages, the kind who tailed cheating spouses for alimony gold. And a hacker, someone dirtier than Ghostbite, to trace those Cayman wires back to Ethan's brokerage. Dawn broke gray and drizzly, the city stirring like a hungover giant. I called the PI from a payphone in Washington Square Park, old school, untraceable, voice steady as I fed him the bare bones. Corporate espionage. Need dirt on Apex execs and insiders. His gravelly laugh crackled through the receiver. That'll be $5,000 up front.
Doll. Cash. Doll.
I bit back the retort. In this game, egos were currency. By noon, I was in a dingy midtown diner, sliding an envelope across a Formica table to Frankie the Fox Malone, ex-NYPD, with a nose for bullshit.
His eyes, sharp as a switchblade,
flicked over the photo I'd printed, Ethan and Lila at a gala, arms linked too intimately. This the prick, he grunted, pocketing the cash. And her, I said, tapping Lila's image. Dig deep. Affairs.
finance,
Skeletons. I want the kind that rattle cages. He nodded, slurping coffee black as tar.
2 weeks.
And Ava, this smells like more than business. You sure you want to open that box? The box. Pandora's.
Probably.
Stuffed with the family secrets I'd buried deeper than Dad's ashes in the Hudson. Like how Lila had accidentally tanked my first startup pitch in college, or Ethan's one-time fling with my assistant that I'd forgiven because love's blind as a bat in the subway. But sure? Hell yes. Because the alternative was dying again. Forgotten in a tabloid footnote. The days blurred into a fever dream of double lives.
By day,
I was Ava 1.0, power suits, TED Talk poise, charming the pants-off investors at tech mixers in Soho lofts. By night, Ava 2.0, hoodie and burner phone, meeting Ghostbite's upgrade, a wiry kid named Jax from Bushwick, tattoos snaking up his arms like Brooklyn vines. For $10K in Bitcoin. I'll mirror their servers, he said, hunched over a laptop in a graffiti-tagged warehouse. Every keystroke. Every dirty dollar. Do it, I whispered, the rain pattering on the tin roof like accusatory fingers. As his code wormed into Apex's firewall, I felt the first thrill of power, not the boardroom kind, but the visceral rush of a heist movie. Ocean's 11 with stakes that could bury me. Frankie's first report landed in my P.O. box a week later, a manila envelope thick as a steak at Peter Luger. Ethan wasn't just skimming, he was laundering through Apex, funneling to a slush fund for political donors, senators who'd greenlight off-label drug trials. And Lila? She'd been his mole since law school, trading insider tips for a cut and a corner office promise. But the kicker, photos. Grainy shots of them in a NoHo hotel, tangled in sheets. Her laughter frozen mid-frame. Adultery on top of treason. My chest caved, a sob clawing up, but I swallowed it. Tears were for the weak. Ammo was for warriors. That night, at a Harrington family dinner in our village dining room, mahogany table groaning under roast beef and Merlot, I tested the waters. Lila arrived late, flushed from yoga, Ethan pouring her wine with a conspirator's wink. To family, he toasted, clinking glasses, his eyes on me like I was the main course. To empire, I countered, swirling my glass, the ruby liquid catching the candlelight like spilled blood. Conversation flowed, merger metrics, stock bumps, but under it, tension simmered like a pot about to boil over. Heard some whispers about Apex, I said casually, spearing a carrot. Shady transfers. You two catch anything? Lila's fork paused midair. A flicker of panic.
What?
No. All clean as a whistle. Ethan chuckled. Too loud. Paranoia.
Babe.
It's the stress. I smiled. Sweet as pie at Thanksgiving. Maybe.
But trust.
That's everything, right? Their eyes met mine, and in that beat, I saw the fracture lines. Good. Let the crack spread. The next move was riskier, anonymous tip to the Journal, framed as a whistleblower leak. Jax rigged it through proxies. Headlines hitting like a freight train. Harrington Apex merger. Hidden fees or fraud? The stock dipped 8%. Board calls flooded my voicemail. Panic emails from Hale himself. Ethan raged in our kitchen that morning. Phone to his ear. Barking at brokers. It's a hit piece.
Ava.
You see this shit. I feigned outrage. Scrolling the article on my tablet. Unbelievable. We need to audit everything. Inside. Fireworks exploded. Phase 1. Detonation. But revenge is a two-way street. And Lila cornered me that afternoon in the ladies' room at a client lunch in Tribeca.
Ava.
What's going on? The leak, it's targeting us. Her eyes, blue as the Atlantic off Coney Island, brimmed with hurt. Or was it fear? We're sisters. If something's wrong, the mirror reflected us side by side. Mirror images. One broken. One breaking. Sisters stick together, I said softly. Hand on her arm. No matter what. She nodded, relief washing her face, and hugged me tight. I held on, inhaling her Chanel No. 5. Memorizing the scent of the enemy. As weeks ticked by, the pressure mounted. Frankie's digs unearthed more, Ethan's ties to a Jersey mobster posing as a consultant, Lila's forged transcripts to snag her Yale spot, my spot. Originally, before I deferred for Dad's chemo. The secrets piled like snow in a Central Park blizzard, each one a weapon. I debated going nuclear, full leak to the SEC, but no, too clean. They deserved the slow rot, the kind that eats from within. Then came the decision that'd haunt me, the one that crossed the line from justice to vendetta. Jax uncovered Lila's side gig, anonymous posts on finance forums, trashing competitors, including me pre-merger.
Petty.
But traceable. I could expose her, tank her career.
Or
twist it. Plant a seed making it look like she was the leak, turning Ethan against her. Divide and conquer. American as apple pie and manifest destiny. I greenlit it over takeout lo mein in Jax's lair. The decision tasting like ash. Make it subtle, I said. Her IP. Her phrasing. He grinned. Feral. You're playing God.
Ava.
Careful. Gods bleed too. The fallout hit like a nor'easter. Ethan confronted Lila at our next strategy session in the brownstone. Voices echoing up the spiral stairs. You bitch. The forum posts it's you. Isn't it? Sabotaging us for what? A bigger slice? Her sobs carried. Raw and wrenching. Ethan.
No.
Ava believes me. Why don't you? I lingered in the doorway. Shadow puppet in the hall light. What's this? Feigned shock. Heart pounding. Lila spun. Mascara rivers on her cheeks. He's accusing me of the leak.
Ava.
Tell him. Ethan cut her off. Face purple. Your sister's the snake.
Ava.
Always has been. The irony burned, but I played neutral, sowing doubt with a sigh. Let's all calm down. Evidence first. By midnight, Lila stormed out, cab peeling into the night. Ethan collapsed on the couch, head in hands. I love her.
Ava.
But if she's burning us. He trailed off, vulnerability cracking his armor. I knelt beside him, stroking his hair, the same way I'd done on our wedding night in Napa. We'll fix it. Together. Lies. All of it. But in that moment, I tasted power's poison, sweet. Addictive. Damn near erotic. The merger teetered. Hale demanding a sit-down in his glass-walled airy overlooking the Battery. I arrived early. Jax's latest feed pinging my smartwatch. Wires traced to Ethan's account. $2.30 mil in consulting fees. Armed with printouts, I faced Hale across Azim's desk. The skyline a jagged teeth backdrop.
Dr.
Hale. We've got a problem. His laugh was a bark. Problems are for underlings.
Ava.
What's your play? I slid the folder over. Your backdoor's exposed. And my husband's involved. Line number 2. I pinned it on Ethan's solo. Sparing Lila for now. Hale's face drained, jowls quivering.
This
is blackmail. Call it leverage, I said. Voice steel. Pull the merger. Or the feds get a Christmas present. He blustered. Threatened lawsuits. But the fear in his eyes was pure caviar, expensive, exquisite. Words spread like wildfire through the C-suite grapevine. Ethan got the call during our cab ride home from Le Bernardin, his face ashen. Hale's backing out. Says there's irregularities. He gripped my hand, knuckles white. What the hell happened? I met his gaze. Rain sluicing the taxi windows like tears. I saved us.
Ethan.
But it's not over. That night, as he slept fitfully, I slipped into his study, rifling drawers until I found it. The burner phone, passcode his dog's birthday, predictable prick. Text to Lila, she's onto us. End it. End it. My blood ran cold as the Gowanus Canal. They'd planned my death from the jump. The pills a mercy kill to silence the whistleblower. Rage boiled. But I channeled it, forwarding the thread to Frankie with a note. Escalation. Protect me. The high tide of my revenge crested 2 weeks later. At the Harrington Gala, a black tie affair in the Met's Temple of Dender, Egypt under glass amid Manhattan's elite. Crystal flutes clinked. Gowns swirled like oil on water. Power brokers air-kissing under the faux Nile stars. I wore crimson Versace. A slash of color like a warning flag. Ethan at my arm in his tux. Lila across the room in emerald silk. Her smile brittle as Rice Krispies. Hale cornered me by the obelisk, breath hot with bourbon. You win this round, Harrington. But deals like this? They come back to bite. I toasted him with sparkling water, no booze for the Avenger, and whispered, Bite me? Honey, I'm the one with fangs. As string quartets sawed Vivaldi, Frankie sidled up, envelope in paw. It's done. Cops en route. Mob ties confirmed, your hubby's deep in it. My nod was imperceptible. The trap snapped shut at 10:15 p.m. when NYPD in ill-fitting suits swarmed the coat check, cuffs glinting like cheap jewelry. Ethan, mid-handshake with a venture capitalist, froze as they read his Miranda rights, the room gasping like a collective asthma attack.
Ava.
His eyes pleaded, betrayal flipping like a bad coin. What is this? Justice, I said, voice carrying over the murmurs. Lila bolted for the exit, but security, tipped by Jax, blocked her. Detectives flashing warrants for fraud and conspiracy. You too? Sweetheart, one growled. Accessory after the fact. The gala dissolved into chaos, flashes popping like gunfire. Socialites scattering like roaches. Headlines birthing in real time on Twitter. I stood amid the wreckage. Champagne pooling at my heels. The weight lifting like fog off the harbor at dawn. But victory? It tasted hollow. Laced with the echo of Lila's scream. You set us up, Ava, after everything. And Ethan's final whisper as they dragged him away. I loved you. Once. In the aftermath. The penthouse echoed empty. My name cleared in a SEC probe that painted me the hero. Harrington stock soared. Board reinstating me with bonuses and backslaps. Jax vanished into the ether with his cut. Frankie retired to Florida on mine. But the nights? They stretched long. Shadows whispering of the lines I'd crossed, framing Lila harder than she deserved. Maybe. Letting Ethan think I still cared just to twist the knife deeper. Then the twist. The one that rewrote my reset. A letter. Postmarked from Rikers. In Lila's looping script. You think you won.
Sis?
Check the family vault. Dad's real will. The one he hid before the cancer. You weren't the heir. I was. And Ethan's not the father of your miscarriage last year. Hale is. The paper crumpled in my fist. World tilting like a funhouse floor. The affair. The stress, pregnancy loss. I'd blamed myself. Swallowed the grief like bad takeout. But she'd known. Weaponized it. Rage reignited. But colder now. Tempered by the mirror's truth. I was no better. A monster forged in their fire. I burned the letter in the fireplace. Ashes scattering like confetti at a funeral. The empire was mine. But the cost? A soul bartered for vengeance. Echoing in the empty halls. Months later, at a quiet dinner in that same Chelsea apartment, solo, with a bottle of Napa Cab, I raised a glass to ghosts. To second chances, I toasted the silence. And the devils we become.
Outside.
The city pulsed on, indifferent as ever, while I plotted phase 3, not revenge, but redemption. Or maybe just survival. In America, the game's never over, it's just halftime. The letter's ashes still smoldered in my mind like embers from a Jersey bonfire when the real storm hit, not the tabloid frenzy, but the internal audit that peeled back layers I'd long ignored. Harrington Biotech wasn't just a company, it was Dad's dream. Bootstrapped from his garage in Newark, turning herbal supplements into a pharma powerhouse. I'd inherited the reins at 26, after his lungs gave out, vowing to honor the man who'd taught me that trust was earned, not given. Irony? He died suspecting Lila of skimming petty cash. But I dismissed it as chemo fog.
Now,
With the feds combing Ethan's ledgers, discrepancies surfaced in the old files, diversions dating back to my early days as CEO. Initialed LH for Lila Harrington. I hired a forensic accountant, a no-nonsense broad named Rita from Queens with a Brooklyn accent thick as bagels. We met in a neutral zone coffee shop in Flatiron, steam rising from our mugs like interrogative ghosts. Your sister's been creative, Rita said, flipping through spreadsheets on her iPad. Ghost employees. Inflated vendor invoices. Started small, textbooks for Yale, but snowballed. Your merger cash? The bait, she needed to go big. Lila's mugshot had hit the post that morning. Heiress to hell, Harrington sis in the slammer. But the will twist not at me. Dad's real will hidden where? The family vault. A safety deposit box in a Chase branch off Wall Street. Key long lost in the divorce shuffle with Mom. I cabbed downtown. The financial district a concrete canyon of suits and secrets. Flashing ID to the teller, who eyed me like yesterday's news. The box yielded dust and disappointment. Stock certificates. Mom's old pearls. A yellowed envelope sealed with Dad's scrawl. For Ava only. Heart slamming like bass at a hip-hop spot in the Bronx. I tore it open in the dim viewing room. Fluorescent buzz the only witness. Inside, a single sheet. Holographic will addendum dated 6 months before his death. To my daughters, Ava. The Empire. Lila. The Foundation, scholarships for underprivileged kids. In Mom's name. No bombshell disinheritance. Just Dad's quiet pivot, recognizing Lila's softer heart for the non-profit arm he'd sketched but never launched. Relief flooded. Then suspicion. Forgery? Lila's lie to rattle me from the inside out. But the notary stamp checked out, Dad's lawyer. Long retired in Boca. She'd twisted it. Planted the seed of doubt to make me question my throne. Bitch was smarter than I gave credit, even in cuffs. Back at the office. The boardroom felt like a coliseum. Lions circling the new gladiator queen. MS. Harrington, intoned old man Whitaker. The silver fox who'd mentored Dad. The scandal's toxic. Investors are jittery. What's your vision? Vision. I leaned forward, palms flat on the teak table, channeling every pitch I'd botched in my 20s. Rebuild. Stronger. We spin off the nonprofit, Harrington Hope, in my sister's name. Ironically, clean slat. Redirect the merger funds there. Transparency audits quarterly. And Apex? We sue their asses for breach. Turn defense to offense. Murmurs rippled, risky, bold. Very New York. Whitaker's bushy brows rose. Aggressive. I like it. Motion carried. Adrenaline surged as they filed out, leaving me with the skyline's promise. But power's a drug, and withdrawal hit hard that evening. Alone in the penthouse Ethan and I had shared. His cologne lingered on the throw pillows. A ghost scent mocking my solitude. I poured scotch, Glenfiddich 18, his favorite, and scrolled his confiscated emails on the laptop, courtesy of the DA's cooperation nudge. Buried in a thread with Hale, blueprints for the frame job. Timestamps syncing with my boardroom glitches. But one attachment chilled me, a paternity test. Negative for Ethan. Positive for. No name. Just a lab code. The miscarriage. 8 months pre-death. A blur of cramps and hospital fluorescence. Ethan holding my hand. Murmuring, we'll try again. I'd buried the grief under work. But now it resurfaced. tidal and treacherous. Hale, the merger architect, with his wandering hands at that Napa retreat 2 years back, boozy team building. Lines blurred by Cabernet. A one-night fog. Regretted and repressed. But if true, the child was collateral in their scheme, a secret they'd exploited to keep me off balance. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, soaking the silk blouse I'd worn to victory. Was I avenging a betrayal, or chasing shadows of my own making? The phone buzzed Rita.
Ava.
Got a lead on Lila's bail hearing. She's naming you in a countersuit. Defamation. Emotional distress. Says you orchestrated the whole thing out of jealousy. Jealousy. The word landed like a sucker punch at a dive bar brawl. Of what? Her youth, her softer heart, or the life I could have had without the crown's thorns. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. Let her. I'll be there. The courthouse in Lower Manhattan was a meat grinder of misery, fluorescent hell. Echoing pleas. Defendants in orange jumps like Halloween rejects. Lila shuffled in chains, hair limp. That porcelain cracked into pallor. Our eyes met across the gallery, hers accusatory daggers.
Mine. Pity? No.
Resolve. The judge. A noble harpy with a Brooklyn drawl. Denied bail, flight risk. Ties to Cayman flights. Lila's wail pierced the air. A siren's cry in the concrete tomb. Outside. Rain lashed the steps. Umbrellas blooming like black mushrooms. Reporters swarmed. Mics thrusting like bayonets. MS. Harrington. Is family over for Harrington Biotech? I pushed through. Rita shielding with her bulk. But one voice cut sharp. Ethan's lawyer. A slick ambulance chaser from his firm. Stepping from a black Lincoln.
Ava.
A word. We ducked into a deli across the street. Pastrami fumes thick as fog. He slid into the booth. Rolex glinting. Ethan's talking deal. Full confession, Lila masterminded. He was duped. Drops your name from the narrative. In exchange, leniency.
Duped.
The words slithered.
Oily.
And the price. Your testimony. Paint him the victim. The loving husband betrayed. His smile was a shark's. All rose. I sipped watery coffee. Mind whirring. Testify? Exonerate the man who'd watch me choke. Or let him rot. Truth be damned, the decision hung. Controversial as a Trump tweet, mercy for the monster. Or justice's cold calculus. Tell him I'll think on it, I said, tossing a 20 on the table. But love? That's not in my ledger anymore. That night, insomnia gripped like a vice, tossing in sheets that smelled of nothing now. Jack's pinged from the shadows. Hale's panicking. Suing you back, breach of trust. Wants 50 mil. I typed back. Counter with everything. The affair.
The test.
Make it personal.
Send.
The war escalated. No quarter asked. The countersuit hearing loomed. A circus in family court, ironic. Since blood tied us tighter than any knot. Lila's attorney, a firebrand from the ACLU pipeline, spun her as the underdog. Abused by an older sister drunk on power. Manipulated into a scheme she barely understood. Gasps from the jury pool. My stomach churning. I took the stand in a navy sheath. Hair pinned like armor. Vowing truth under oath. MS. Harrington, the lawyer purred. Did you ever resent your sister's success? Her closeness to your husband. The gallery leaned in. Vultures at a kill. I met her gaze, steady as the statue in the harbor. Resent?
No.
But betray? That's on her. I detailed the leaks, the frames, voice cracking only once, on the miscarriage. Hale's shadow looming. The courtroom hushed. A collective intake. Her cross. You planted evidence.
Didn't you?
A vengeful god playing with lives. The accusation stung. Truth's barb. I uncovered. I corrected. But yes, I pushed. Because stopping short would have killed me again. The judge banged gavel, mistrial buzz. But the seed planted, doubt in Lila's victimhood. Post-hearing, in the echoing hall, a guard escorted Lila past. She paused, chains rattling. You stole everything.
Ava.
Dad's love. The company. My future. Her whisper was venom, eyes hollow. And you stole my life, I replied, soft as fog. Twice. She was led away, but her words lingered, a curse in the marble veins. The pivot came unbidden. Over takeout in Rita's cramped office, dim sum from Chinatown. Fortune cookies mocking with platitudes. You're winning, she said, cracking hers. A journey of 1,000 miles. You know the rest. Begins with a single step back. I finished.
Right.
Mine? A call to Ethan's lawyer at dawn. Voice like gravel. Deal's on. But add a clause. Full disclosure. The test. The affair, everything. He balked. That's suicide for him. Exactly.
Click.
The confession dropped like a bomb on Sian. Ethan. Hollow-cheeked in orange. Tear-streaked plea. I was weak. Lila led. I followed.
Ava.
She was the victim. Hale's name surfaced. Paternity confirmed. His empire crumbling under FDA probes and shareholder suits. Lila flipped too. Cutting a deal for immunity. Fingers pointing at the mobster consultant, busted in a dawn raid on his Bay Ridge social club. Vindication washed. But tainted. Headlines hailed me Farmers Phoenix, but whispers followed. Ruthless. Did she go too far? The controversial calls framing the frame. Mercy as manipulation, haunted interviews. Late-night scrolls. Was I hero or heel? In America's meritocracy myth, the line blurred like smog over the skyline. Yet in quiet moments, staring at Dad's photo on my desk, him grinning in a lab coat. Newark grit eternal, I found fragile peace. The non-profit launched, scholarships flowing to kids like young me. Trailers no barrier. Lila wrote from low security in Danbury. Not venom but olive branch. Hate me, but heal. For him. I didn't reply. Healing? Maybe in time. Like scars fading under summer sun. For now, the rear view held shadows. But the road ahead? Mine to pave. Potholes and all. Summer faded into a brutal fall. Leaves carpeting Central Park like confetti from a ticker tape parade gone sour. Harrington Hope ribbon-cutting drew crowds, politicos and flags. Kids in fresh uniforms clutching backpacks like lifelines. I scissored the silk. Flashes blinding. Speeches lauding resilience. Redemption. But inside, the churn persisted. Nightmares of pills dissolving. Ethan's indifferent stare. Therapy? I tried a park slope shrink. All nods and processed the trauma, but her couch felt like quicksand. You're not your choices. Ava, she'd say. Bullshit. Choices were the chains we forged. Link by vengeful link. The mobster angle blew wide open mid-October. Headlines screaming pharma plot. Harrington scandal ties to organized crime. Frankie called from his Florida porch. Rocking chair creaking over the line. Your boy's broker? Front for the Columbos. Extortion racket. Using Apex trials for pill mills. Ethan's consultant, Vinny the Vine Russo, spilled under plea. Naming names. Senators greased. Clinics flooded with off-brand opioids. The DOJ swooped. RICO indictments raining like acid from smokestacks. I testified again. This time in federal court. A brutalist bunker in Foley Square. Suited up in Armani gray. I faced the bench. Prosecutor a bulldog from Brooklyn. MS. Harrington. Did you suspect criminal elements pre-merger? Suspect?
No.
But after. I detailed the back door. The leaks. Voice steady as subway rails. The defense, Vinny's shark. Gold chains glinting grilled. You benefited. Didn't you? Company stronger. You the savior. Motive to fabricate. The gallery tittered. Tension thick as fog in the narrows. I leaned into the mic. Eyes locked. Fabricate? I lived it. Died by it. Gasps rippled. The judge sustained objections. But the seed took root. Verdict. Guilty across the board. Vinny to 20. Ethan angling for 15 with good behavior. Post-trial. In the court shadow. Hale waited gaunt. Once silver hair, now ash. Flanked by handlers.
Ava.
A moment. We walked the plaza. Pigeons scattering like fleeing execs. The child. I didn't know. Or if I did. It was buried under ambition. His voice cracked. Eyes wet. Forgive?
No.
But understand, we were all pawns.
Pawns.
The word grated. But truth lurked. Ambition's chessboard. Where kings toppled queens for checkmate.
Pawns with choices, I said.
You chose wrong. He nodded. Shuffling away. A ghost of the mogul who'd charmed Napa Nights. Lila's trial was the gut punch. December chill seeping through the courthouse walls. She'd lawyered up with a powerhouse from Skadden. Spinning conspiracy. Coerced by a domineering sister. Manipulated by a toxic husband. Evidence mounted. Her emails. The forum posts, but the emotional theater? Oscar-worthy. She took the stand. Voice quavering. Ava was everything I wanted to be. Strong. Untouchable.
But she saw me as a threat.
The frame? Her revenge for stealing Ethan's heart. The courtroom swayed. Jury women dabbing eyes. My cross-exam was brutal. Clinical. You initialed the diversions. Lila. Ghost employees, your Yale tuition ghosts. She crumbled. Sobs echoing. But the damage stuck. Doubt. That insidious American export. Closing arguments dragged. Snow falling outside like judgment flakes. The foreman read guilty. 5 counts fraud. 2 conspiracy sentencing to 8 years. Eligible for parole in 4. As cuffs clicked, she mouthed across the divide. Monster. I held her gaze. Unflinching. Monster? Maybe. But survival's forge didn't yield saints. Holiday season hit like a hangover. Manhattan aglow with twinkling Fifth Avenue trees. Carols blaring from speakers on every corner. I hosted a victory dinner at the renovated penthouse, catered from 11 Madison Park. Board members toasting my triumph. Laughter rang hollow. Champagne flat. Whitaker pulled me aside by the balcony. City lights a diamond sprawl below. Proud of you.
Kid.
Your old man would be. But this fire in your eyes. Don't let it consume.
Consume.
The word haunted as guests departed, leaving me with echoes and a half-empty flute. I wandered to the study, Ethan's old lair, now mine, rifling drawers for closure. Tucked behind a false panel, a flash drive. Unlabeled. Heart stutter. I plugged in. Videos loaded, grainy hotel footage. Lila and Ethan entangled. Dates syncing to my miscarriage week. But the last file, audio. My voice. Slurred from Napa wine. Marcus.
Wait. No.
I can't. His laugh.
Low.
One night.
Ava.
No strings. The truth unspooled. Not assault. But consent in weakness. A lopside blacked out. No villain hail. Just human frailty. And the paternity? Falsified by Lila. A final barb to fracture us post-arrest. Tears came again. Purging. As dawn pinked the horizon. New Year's Eve. I ditched the Times Square crush for a solo vigil on the Brooklyn Bridge. Wind whipping like furies. Fireworks bloomed over the water. Resolutions unspoken. The controversial choice loomed. Appeal Lila's sentence. Testify to the coercion. Grant the mercy I denied myself. Or let karma's will turn. Ungreased. Jax resurfaced. Encrypted text. Congrats on the win. Need a job? Cleaner gigs now. I replied. Retired. But thanks for the mirror. He ghosted. As hackers do. Spring thawed the ice. Harrington Hope flourishing, clinics in the Bronx. Scholarships pouring. I mentored a cohort of trailer park prodigies. Their eyes wide like young Lila's once. MS.
Ush.
How'd you beat the odds? One asked. Braces flashing. By not trusting odds, I said. Trust yourself. And watch your back. The twist deepened in May. A manila from Danbury. Lila's appeal granted. New evidence my planted IP traces. Deemed overreach. Hearing reset for June. Her lawyer citing sisterly vendetta. The press reignited. Pharma feud. Was it all a setup? Panic clawed. But Rita steadied. Fight it. Or fold. Your call, the controversial one. I chose fight. But laced with truth. At the hearing, I took the stand unbidden. Voice raw. I pushed too far. Planted seeds to divide them. Because the betrayal cut deeper than bone. But the crimes?
Real.
Lila chose them. The judge. A soft-spoken jurist from Harlem.
Leaned in.
And now. MS. Harrington? Mercy.
Mercy.
The word hung. Bridge or noose.
Yes.
Reduce sentence. And a program rehab. Not just bars. For the family Dad wanted. Lila, via video link, gaped, shock melting to something like awe. Verdict for years. With counseling. As the feed cut, her nod lingered, tentative truce. Ethan's appeal crashed harder. His duped, narrative shredded by Vinny's testimony. Life without parole loomed. His letters piling unopened. One slipped through. I deserved it.
But you?
You're free. Don't waste it on hate.
Hate.
The ember-eyed nursed.
Now ash.
I burned the rest. Scattering over the Hudson from a Battery Park bench. Dad's river carrying grudges away. Summer returned. Cycle unbroken.
But me?
Altered. The rear view faded, replaced by a windshield cracked but clear. Controversial? Hell yes, mercy as the ultimate revenge. Forcing mirrors on monsters. In America's grind, we all pay tolls. Mine bought a horizon, jagged with promise. By Labor Day, the dust settled into a gritty normalcy. Manhattan's pulse sinking with mine, frantic days. Reflective nights. Harrington Biotech expanded, acquiring a clean tech startup from Austin. Green energy, the new gold rush. Board meetings buzzed with optimism. Whitaker's gavel a metronome of progress. But personal? A void yawned, filled with dates that fizzled. A venture bro from WeWork events. Too slick, a professor from Columbia. Too earnest. You're guarded, one said over Szechuan in the East Village. Guarded? Try armored. Plates forged in betrayals blaze. Lila's release loomed, early parole. Model inmate with her counseling badge. The DA warned, no contact advised. She's volatile. Volatile. Like nitroglycerin in a pothole. I ignored it, sending a care package to Danbury. Books on forgiveness, Breen Brown, not self-help fluff, and a note. Start fresh. No strings. Her reply. Smuggled via Rita. Strings were always there. But thanks. Coffee when I'm out?
Coffee.
Neutral ground. Like the delis where Dad hash deals. I agreed. Date set for a crisp October morning at a Tribeca spot. Exposed brick and oat milk lattes. She arrived early, hair cropped short, prison pallor fading, eyes wary as alley cats. We hugged awkward, bones protruding under her thrift store sweater. Ava, she breathed, like a prayer or curse. We ordered, hers black, mine with almond foam and dance small talk, weather, Hope's clinics. Then the dive. Why? Her fork speared a scone. Aggressive. The setup.
The push.
You could have stopped at exposure. I sipped. Steam curling. Stopped? And let you and Ethan dance off to Cayman sunsets?
No.
But yeah. I went dark. The planting. The divides. That was me unraveling. Honesty tasted like quinine. Bitter but clarifying. She nodded. Slow.
Me too.
The affair started as revenge for you choosing work over me. Always. Dad's will. I twisted it because it hurt, knowing you'd get the crown anyway. Tears welled. Unashamed. The miscarriage I knew about Hale. Told Ethan to keep you off kilter. Cruelest thing I did. Cruel. The word bridged our chasm. Two sides of a fractured mirror. We both did cruel, I said. But Dad? He'd want mending. Not perfect, real. We parted with numbers exchanged. A tentative thread. Not sisters reborn, but survivors stitching scars. Ethan?
His appeals exhausted.
Final letter a manifesto. I write from regret's cell. The love was real.
Once.
Burn this. I did. Over the same river. But kept a line visitation approved. Neutral ground in Ossining. Our first meet, through plexiglass, was silence mostly, his eyes hollowed by regret.
Ava.
Sorry doesn't cut it. No, I agreed. But hearing it helps. We talked mechanics, sentences, appeals, but undercurrent flowed. Forgiveness not granted, but glimpsed, like light through prison bars. The true twist unfurled at year's end. Holiday lights strung like veins across the city. A knock at the penthouse late. Snow dusting the doormat. There stood Hale. Coat dusted white. Face gaunt as a specter from a Christmas carol. Heard about Lila. The mercy,
Thought.
Maybe room for one more ghost.
Ghosts.
I'd had my fill, but curiosity cracked the door. We sat by the fire. Ironic. Given the burns, scotch poured neat. The test was fake, he confessed. Voice gravel. Lila's forgery. To bind Ethan closer. The night. Mutual. But I preyed on vulnerability.
For that.
No excuse. No excuse. The absolution I sought. Or thought I did. You're toxic, Marcus. But human. Stay away from my orbit, he left with a nod. Shadow merging with snow. Another demon exorcised. New Year's dawn crisp. Resolutions scribbled on a napkin. Expand hope internationally. Mentor more prodigies. Maybe date without armor. Jax resurfaced for a clean gig, cybersecurity for the nonprofit, his grin boyish over video call. Karma's a loop.
Huh?
You broke it.
Loop.
The words cycled back to that boardroom breath. Resurrection's gasp. Frankie visited from Florida. Tan and tails. Toasting over lobster rolls at Grand Central. You did good.
Doll.
Messy. But real. America's like that. Grit and grace.
Grace.
The bike hitch twist. Not downfall. But uneasy truce. Lila joined Hope's board. Probationary. Her softer heart, channeling funds to opioid recovery, ironic redemption.
Ethan?
Letters sporadic. A man rebuilding in confinement. His love a faded tattoo.
Me?
Ava Harrington. Phoenix not unscathed. But flying. The controversial decisions. Pushes into gray. Mercies laced with calculation, scarred. But shaped. In the rear view. Betrayals wreck receded. Ahead. A highway pitted but open. City lights beckoning like stars in a concrete sky. As spring bloomed again. I stood on the bridge, Brooklyn's span. Wind whispering secrets, raising a silent toast to the dead. Dad. The old me. The illusions shattered. To loops broken, I murmured, tossing the napkin confetti into the current. The river carried it east, toward open sea, while I turned west, toward whatever dawn America promised next, flawed, fierce, forever unfinished.